morning, Law and Public Safety class. Does anybody know what year the FBI was established?
1908.
So, the mission of the FBI has evolved since its establishment in 1908 to enhance American security. I'm Hannah McIntyre, and I'm here to present my speech today. I am doing this for my communication class. I was in the Law and Public Safety class for 2 years during my time here at Marion County Technical Center. I also attended the FBI Teen Academy at the end of my senior year. Currently, I am majoring in National Security Intelligence, Criminal Justice, and Political Science at Fairmont State University. So this speech overall, I'm going to be talking about the FBI's establishment and how the Federal Bureau of Investigation Commission throughout the decades from 1908 to the present day have changed. So let's begin by understanding why the FBI was originally created. Founded in 1908, the FBI was needing for an investigation force for the Department of Justice. Attorney General Charles James Bonaparte and Theodore Roosevelt decided that they needed a force that could investigate not only politicians, government officials, but everybody across America. Throughout the decades, the FBI's mission changed based on what was happening in society. From 1910 to 1950, white-collar crime began to happen more frequently, such as land fraud, banking fraud, copyright violations, and forced labor. World War I broke out. World War I began in Europe, placing additional responsibilities on the Bureau. In 1917, Congress declared war on Germany, and President Woodrow Wilson authorized the Bureau to detain enemy allies that came to America. Prohibition started, and the FBI's mission was to obtain anybody that was selling alcohol, and they had to figure out how they were making it and where it was actually coming from. Gangs and mobsters also happened from 1910 to 1950. Not only were the gangs, but there's also mass murders that began to happen in cities like Chicago and New York. Kidnappings began to happen, and during this time, you could not pass over state lines. Any kidnapping that happened within a state had to stay within its borders. So Congress passed the Federal Kidnapping Act. This act gave the Bureau authority to investigate kidnappings across the state, not only within its borders. Drugs also began to take a popularity between 1910 and 1950. The FBI's mission then was to focus on where the drugs were coming from and how they were being made. World War II began to break out. Espionage, sabotage, and counterintelligence were used. So the FBI's mission was to spy on other people, figure out who was spying and how to obtain them, and sabotaging such as our ports and our ships. We were figuring out what countries were doing this and who was being a part of this. From 1915 to 1990, civil rights movements began to popularize, such as the Martin Luther King movement. The FBI had to focus their things on the protests and what was happening, so they would monitor the protests throughout the days. Assassinations such as the JFK assassination. The FBI had to figure out all the details about what happened, where it happened, and all the ins and outs of that. Violent attacks and domestic terrorism began to happen in the United States. Bombings and domestic terrorist groups broke out. The Vietnam War was a very debatable topic that happened in America, and protests began to happen. They were very violent, and people were demonstrating their acts against going to war. The government problems such as Watergate began to happen. This is why the FBI was created, and it came to its full ability then. Cold War began to happen, and organized crime broke out across the United States. So this is the present day of what really has happened with the FBI from 1990 to present. So this is the decade that you guys grew up in, so this is kind of what you guys can relate to. So national security and counterterrorism. So with the FBI, they focus mainly on the national aspect more than just domestic now, such as terrorist groups like Al-Qaeda and Taliban. So we fought wars over in the Middle East, and the terrorist groups have begun to come to American soil. So we have some attacks that happened since 1990, such as the Middle East terrorist attack on the American soil by planting a truck bomb beneath the World Trade Center. And then 9/11, which was a very heartbreaking day for American citizens when the planes crashed into the Twin Towers and also other places in the United States. This led to multiple FBI agents figuring out how to prevent terrorism in the United States. Cyber attacks and cyber crimes are what we were recently dealing with the last 5 years. Since technology has been a big part, elections and a lot of other things have been used from counterterrorism and cyber attacks. So overall, this speech has told you about why the FBI was created, the missions from 1910 to 1950, such as white-collar crime, war efforts, gangs and drugs. From 1950 to 1990, the domestic issues civil rights acts, assassination, even government problems. And then overall, our decade, we have learned that national security in the United States have become threatened by terrorist attacks. So overall, the FBI's mission does change throughout the decades, but there's always one mission that stays the same: to protect the American people and defend the United States Constitution.